Yeah, I was expecting that we would, often you and I talk about vocabulary, and I'm always interested in your work on that. But you were letting me know that you're interested in talking about automaticity and how kids develop greater automaticity, which of course allows them to do the high level comprehension work that's so important. So can you just share a little bit of some of the thinking you've been doing on that topic? I know there's a lot of people out there talking about orthographic mapping as um,
Right.
what are you thinking about all that?
Automaticity is a vocabulary issue, um, as much as it is a word recognition issue.
Oh, that's an interesting, yeah, I
Yeah.
can see what you mean. Yeah, say more.
Well, the reason I wanted to chat about it today is if I could make one change in my career, and I anticipate I have some time yet to keep working on it, but I'd like to see it happen sooner rather than later. I'd like for all of us to have a better understanding of what it means to be rapid, to be fluent, to be able to um, read at the rate where you can make meaning. Okay? So, from the analysis that we've done, and I've published a piece in Reading Teacher about this, I think it was sometime during the pandemic, maybe 2021, on what it means to not be on the proficient level on the National Assessment of Educational Progress. So
Mhm,
we hear a lot about that.
mhm,
And then whenever we get new results, and we anticipated that there would be a slight drop. In fact, in eighth grade, it's not a significant difference. There are, a percentage or two more kids on the below basic level, but it's not statistically significant. But people start running around and making policies with the assumption that it's a word recognition issue. Okay. So when I go into databases, and I'm not advocating, I'm not a fan of DIBELS, but one of the things about the DIBELS folks is that they do make their data and their measurements readily accessible.
mhm.
So you can look at their norms and so on.
Yeah.
And when we look at that, it turns out that most American kids, even now during the pandemic, because they have norms for DIBELS that were gotten right at the
Yep.
end of the pandemic, it turns out that up to about the fifth percentile of kids, like in second grade or third grade, we see kids being able to recognize a lot of the words in the text, in the DIBELS text. And in fact, very quickly, we've got a lot of kids who are at about 95 to even 97, 98% accuracy. The majority of kids. Now I'm saying if you go below like the 10th percentile, then it starts changing. But what I'm saying is that our kids
Can I back you up to just clarify? You were saying up to the fifth percentile?
at the bottom 5th percentile, I'm talking about.
Okay, so you're saying below the bottom fifth percentile,
There are some issues
those
that
children below the bottom percentile, they don't have 95% accuracy.
that's correct.
But above the fifth percentile.
We have to go for different grades and so on, but let's say at about third grade, most of the kids from about the 15th percentile up. And
Mhm.
I need to check some of those data
Yep.
because, as you said, I do research in lots of different areas, and sometimes I'm not as precise with in memory, remembering some of this. But what I'm saying is that even in the bottom quartile, not the very, very bottom part of that quartile.
Yeah.
By about third or fourth grade, we see kids at 92, 93, 94% accuracy.
Mhm.
But they're reading very slowly.
Yeah.
And what I'm really convinced about, and I've done a lot of reviewing of literature
Yeah.
on, for example, eye movements
Mhm.
and how what happens when people study kids and adults' eye movements and what happens when they get to unfamiliar words.
Yes.
Now, I want to remind you that when LaBerge and Samuels and also E.B. Huey, right, in the early part of the 20th century, LaBerge and Samuels were 1974, when they talked about automaticity, they weren't implying that you were fast at all the words you read.
Mhm.
What they were implying is that you had capability to figure out the words that were new to you in the text.
Mhm.
Okay, so keep remembering any text that's authentic, and that involves magazine articles, long lists of things, including the text we're giving beginning readers as decodables.
Mhm.
There are about 3 words in every 100
Yeah.
that you haven't encountered before. That doesn't mean you can't figure them out, but you haven't encountered them.
They're rare words.
Right. And what I'm hypothesizing is that if you're not good at the words that account for the majority of the text, so we know that there are about, 5,000 or 6,000 words, 2,500 morphological word families that account for about 92% of the words that you read through high school. It's a little bit higher in first grade, but that's about the percentage from about third grade on. So what I'm hypothesizing is that you actually need to do a lot of application. So a lot of our current work is focusing on word level strategies, on word level processes. And I'm not arguing with that, but I'm saying there also needs to be a transition very early on where you're developing sufficient automaticity with the words that account for a lot of the text, or you're never going to be a really good reader.